based on the performance of Benavidez in there with Morell, I know a lot of talk after the fight was wanting David to unify against the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol. How do you, based on how he performed, Abel, how do you see him tussling up with these guys, with the Beterbiev and with the Bivol?
As I mentioned to you in our text, I honestly don't think that those two guys are head and shoulders above these two guys. Bivol and Beterbiev are natural 75 pounders. I want to say Bivol is a much better technically sound fighter than Benavidez. Hits a little bit harder, I think, than Benavidez, and a little stronger than Benavidez. And Morale's got a little way to go. Now the monster, the other guy, the real monster, Beterbiev. Uh, to me, if he's able to stay busy, now he's getting at a little later age now, but he's if able to stay busy with punch output against any of these guys, he beats them easy because of his strength and power. But I think that what's going to be is the detriment to him is that he may not be as busy as he used to be just because he's getting older and maybe he's conserving a little bit more. In the Bivol fight, I thought he conserved a little too much. The first fight, maybe in this one he won't. We'll see a better Bivol and a better Beterbiev in this fight. But I don't think that either guy, Morel or David Benavidez, is ready for those two.
Hmm. You don't think the pressure of Benavidez in his punch volume would take a toll on either or?
No, I don't think so. He couldn't hurt. He couldn't hurt Morel. How's he going to hurt these two guys?
Well, he bruised up Morell pretty
Yeah,
badly, you know?
it's a fight. You get hit. Everybody bruises up. You get hit. It's a fight. It's not like they're when wearing pillows. They're wearing small gloves. I mean, they're hitting each other. They actually, it was a great fight, man. You can't take that away from either one of those guys. It was a great fight. But I just think that the other two guys are a little more seasoned and a little more in their realm at 175.
David's really confident about his chances against Bivol. I think the confidence comes from the sparring that he did with Bivol a few years back, and knowing how well he did against Bivol. I know like sparring's differently from like a real fight, but you still carry like confidence from those sparrings, right?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know. I think he'd do well. I just don't think that he wouldn't do to Bivol what he done to Morel. I
Mm.
think Bivol would be doing that to him. But he should be confident. He fought a great fight. Um, I had a guy spar with Bivol maybe when Bivol had maybe 15, 16 fights down in LA, Manny Robles' gym. I won't mention who it was, but we handled Bivol. And I thought, man, my guy just handled Bivol. They went 4 rounds. And then Bivol's next fight, he looks like a totally different guy. I mean, he looked like $1 million in the fight, and he looked like 20 cents when he sparred my guy. Maybe it was my guy doing that to him, but sparring is sparring. Maybe he was working on things. Maybe he was preparing. Maybe his coaches have, just like I do, his coach was having him do particular things that you have to improve on, and the other guy's having a great time, and it's great sparring for him, but he's working on things. So it could have been that. My guy looked great against him, and like I said, in the next last time I saw Bivol, I said, "Damn, this guy's pretty damn good." So sparring and the fights are two different things.
Yeah. People always talk about sparring now, and oh, I handled so and so in sparring, and fans like to speculate, like, oh, this happened in sparring. He has more than a chance to win, or he'll beat so and so. But based on that, yeah, like the fights are completely different. They're fought at a
Good
completely
coaches.
different intensity.
Yeah, but good coaches or the
Yeah.
coaches that improve their fighters, and I'm sure you know those coaches are that improve their fighters every time they go out to spar, every time they're in the ring, they're working on something. They're working on things that are not as good as the good things that they have. So in order to improve on things, you have to make yourself susceptible to whatever's coming at you. So if Bivol in those sparring, my sparring session and David's sparring session with him, maybe he was working on things. Who knows? And nobody knows but Bivol and his coach. Because they may have a sit down before the sparring and say, this is what we're going to work on. I don't want you to throw the right hand this way. I want you to throw it this way. I want you to throw a jab, just a jab, just work on the jab and a hook. Forget the right hand. And maybe, there's, because of that, you're limited on what you can do, and the other guy may have a better time. So, good coaches are always working on things, trying to improve the lesser of the positive things that you have.
Yeah, at the post fight, David was asked like if he preferred a Beterbiev fight or a Bivol fight, and he mentioned that he preferred like a Bivol fight just because of the sparrings that he had. Um, Looking at it, I don't know. I feel like a Beterbiev fight would be like a, geez, that fight's just a violent fight. I
It's a
think it's a more,
violent,
yeah, like a
that's a
more
violent
pleasing
fight.
fight. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally a more violent fight.
the Bivol fight would be more technical, more. This would show. This would actually show how good David's fundamentals are because he won't be able to make mistakes. Against a Bivol, he won't be able to make the mistakes that he made against Morel. So if he's able to win against Bivol, then that just shows us that maybe he's sloppy with the guys that can't do nothing with him, but he's very efficient and fundamentally sound with the guys that are fundamentally sound.
Yeah, well, we see it time and time again. Fighters always, raise their level up when they have those types of matches where like they don't do the things they do from the other fights because they know like there's big consequences for those things coming up with the elite of their divisions.
Yeah, but I just see the strength and power difference and the sloppiness difference making a difference, making it more difficult for Benavidez to be able to beat a Bivol.
What do you see that's sloppy with your trainer eye?
Oh, he got knocked down. I mean, he wails his punches sometimes. Sometimes his punches are, I'm not gonna say bolo punches, but not really straightforward. If you look at Bivol, look at his punch out, but he's very very fundamentally sound. His punches come out direct. His punches come out. His hooks are very correct. His uppercuts are very correct. He's never off balance or seldom off balance. And Davis seems to be off balance with a lot of the shots he throws. And it could be that he throws so many punches in a row that he sacrifices one for another. But Bivol doesn't do that. So if you're fighting a guy like Bivol who's so sound and you make mistakes, you're going to pay for him. Well, I thought they both fought a great fight. I think that David proved that he's one of the top three or four in the light heavyweight division. Morel has a little more seasoning to do, but he's going to end up being a player, and I think in that division, very much so.
Yeah, man. Like David has wins now over like Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade, Durrell, and David Durrell and that's funny. Morell and Durrell they rhyme. A little bit of a tongue twister there, but he's building quite a good resume now at this point.
Yeah, I think that really Plant was really the most seasoned of the guys you've mentioned. Andrade was in his on his last leg, and Morales a little too young, and Durrell really was at the tail end of his career too. So Plant really is really the only one that I would suggest was a real test, and he handled it. I mean, he did well.
Do do you give him more weight for the Plant win than this one?
And no, I wouldn't say more weight. I think that Morel, with the background, just not seasoned enough, but Morel, 6 fights from now, 7 fights from now, would have been a better win for him than Plant. At this point, maybe it's even or even Plant a little head because of the inexperience on Morel's side.
I just thought I don't know. I guess if Morel and Plant were to fight, who would you have as the favorite? And I'm thinking I would have to pick Morel, right? Because he's the bigger guy.
Yeah, but it all depends when, though. I mean, if you're talking about Plant when Plant was in his heyday, then maybe Plant. Plant had quick hands, good little pop, experienced. At this point, Plant is past that, so I obviously give to Morale right now.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. No. What else struck out for you, Abel, with the fight when having a trainer's mind that you saw?
I thought that David is consistent with what he does. Benavidez, he's very consistent. Everything he does, he was doing in the last fight and in the fight before. He obviously trains very hard. He obviously is in great shape. He did what he needed to do to not allow Morale to get into a groove, not allow Morale to dictate. I think that he was David Benavidez. That's who he is. That's the good thing and the bad thing. He's not, what's the right way? You said a coach's view. He's not improving in a way that he could be more dominant. But he's very skilled. Oh my gosh, beautiful combinations.
Uh, yeah. How would he improve more in your opinion? What could have he have done better the night of the fight?
You know, it's difficult for a coach to critique uh, what they're doing. I know what I would do with him, but it's not something that I would discuss with anybody. Obviously, that's something that you do in private. But the fact is, he's winning, man. He's doing well and he's winning. That's a very important fact.
Did you feel the 11th round where he got clipped at the end? And I think it might have been a round before where he caught um, a straight left hand. Did you see that he was buzzed a little bit?
He was buzzed in the only time I saw him buzz is the punch after the bell. That's the
Yeah.
only time I saw him a little, his legs stiffened up a little bit. But other than that, no, he was never in trouble.
Mm.
Even the knockdown didn't even hit him. The
Yeah, he seemed.
knockdown, they kind of tripped on each other and he hit him on his shoulder. His arm was up. So he never really hit him. But you know what? He went down. It was a punch that was thrown. He pushed him kind of a little bit. So it has to be counted as a knockdown. It shouldn't have been, but it has to be counted.
Yeah, yeah. Their feet totally tripped up over each other on that one.
And David's arm was up, and he hit his shoulder and his upper bicep. So Benavidez, that is his upper bicep. So he didn't really connect. But again, he hit him, kind of a push, and knocked him down. So it had to be counted.
Yeah, like when we look at the fight as a whole, okay, like the big question was like really Morell in how like technically good he is, and if he'd be able to nullify the pressure of David Benavidez. Like, what would you contribute the biggest factor in this victory for David? Was it the volume? Was it the body work, or was it something else?
IQ.
IQ. Elaborate for us, Abel.
David just sets traps, does a lot of things that keep you from doing what you want to do. And that's experience, man. That's just ring knowledge. That's just being in there with some of the best. And he's seen everything that Morale was going to be able to do. There wasn't anything that was going to surprise him from Morale. He actually got a little sloppy at times. Again, like when he got knocked down, he got a little sloppy. His feet got a little crossed and he made some mistakes, but he was just way above in ring generalship and in ring intelligence. And Morale just couldn't, at this point anyway, could not catch up with it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I think coming into the fight, a lot of people gave like the ring IQ category to David Morell because of the Cuban school that he comes from.
I think we talked about that before.
Yeah.
It's an amateur school. This is the pros. As soon as the fifth or sixth round started, as I told you before, it became a pro fight. And as soon as that fight starts, then the IQ is really different. It's not about throwing a volume punches. It's not about like in 3 rounds. It's about setting up what you want to do. And David was very good at setting up what he wanted to do. He hit him with everything he wanted to hit him. Really, he hit him with anything he wanted to hit him at any time. He got hit when he got sloppy.
Props to Morell though for being able to take it for 12 rounds.
No,
Jeez.
listen, he's going to be a player. Give
Yeah.
him another couple fights. Hopefully, they go back and retool a little bit and work on some things that they need to work on. But I think in 2 or 3 fights, he gets a little more knowledgeable in there, and hopefully, it's against good guys. And he's going to beat a lot of guys. I mean, he's a very good fighter.
Yeah, I know at the post fight press conference, they had mentioned maybe the possibility of a rematch, maybe a few years from now. I don't think it's warranted like immediately. I thought it was pretty like obvious that like David conclusively won the fight. Was it competitive? Yeah, I felt it was competitive, but I felt overall he clearly won. Like, how many rounds did you give to Benavidez and to Morell?
After the fight in the group in the place where I was at, it was a friend's house, and there was maybe 6 or 7 people there watching the fight. And I said to them, I think it's a 17-13, 16-12 fight. I think just because there was times when one the knockdown, and there was times when David Benavidez took some time off and got a little sloppy and got caught. So maybe you give him a couple rounds plus the knockdown plus that round. So yeah, I thought it was 17-13 or 17-12 or 16-11, 16-12, somewhere there. And that's more or less what it was. I think that one judge that had it 118 was a little out of line.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that one. I thought maybe he's counting for the pressure. David was the one always coming forward. Maybe that, but I felt maybe that might have been maybe a point too much for my liking.
Yeah, and remember, he got knocked down too, that it was counted. So that means
Well,
that he
but
won
then
every
he got,
round.
but then he got the point deduction too, to kind
Yeah,
of
that's
like
true
made
too. That's
the
very
round
true.
a wash. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of even there. You're right.
Hey,
But
what'd you
yeah, I
think
thought
of
it was
that?
uh, um, one punch. David's punch was second and a half after the bell, and that could be on the way. Morel's punch was, at least 3 seconds or several seconds after. So it was a retaliation for the one he thought was after, but that's what happens. You or the one gets caught is the one that does it after. The second guy that does it. So, but it did rock. I thought it kind of stung David Benavidez a little bit because he stiffened up a little bit, but obviously it didn't hurt him that much that he came back and won the next round. So.
That sort of stuff though is like usually at the discretion of the ref, right? Like, don't they usually give like a hard warning, or they can go ahead and take a point right away?
No, the hard warning is always nowadays in the dressing room. And they tell you that. I'm giving you the
Ah,
hard warning right now. So don't, they tell you that in the dressing room. So then if you do that in the fight, yeah, it is at his discretion, but that was definitely after the bell.
yeah, no, because I was wondering that. At first, I was like, well, no, that seemed like it was pretty like purpose, like it was done on purpose after the bell. But I was just kind of thinking like, oh, usually the refs like give like a hard warning, like, hey, don't do that again. Like he went out and just took the point right away.
Yeah, no, I think that if it had been in more of a competitive fight, like maybe it was an even fight, then I think the referee would have considered it a little bit more in taking the point. But in the dressing room, they tell you, "I'm giving you the hard warning right now, so don't do anything, don't do this, don't whatever it is that they don't want you to do." So they've already warned you in the dressing room.